Welcome to Ben's Business Q&A episode number 3. And in this episode, what I'm going to be discussing and answering a question, just one question this week, on a really good question that came through Ben's Business Book Club, which was, the question was from Andy Supliveda. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing the second name right. And he asked the question of, can you recommend any books for people that want to be an entrepreneur but don't know where to start? So I thought this was a really good question to discuss in today's Q&A. What I'll do is I'll take questions. If you've got any live questions at the end, I can see who's commenting just now, and I'll make sure to take note and answer them at the end. So thanks for anyone who comes online today, and whoever watches the replay. If you've got any questions, just send them in the comments anyway. I'll try and add them into the next week's Q&A. So to answer the question of recommending a book for people who want to be entrepreneurs and not sure where to start, I actually filtered this through my dad. I answered the question in Ben's Business Book Club just in a comment, which was a long detailed comment, so I ended up making an extra post, and it's growing arms and legs from there. I asked my dad, who's been in business for 30 years, and he's had a lot of successes and failures, and he knows what works and what doesn't work. And I've been in business for 7 years, and again, I've also had lots of failures and successes. So based on what I'll give you my advice on what books I would recommend, but also when I asked my dad that question, he came back to me and said, "You're the book guy, like I've got the book club and things, so you'll know the book titles." But I asked him a specific question to him because he doesn't know the titles of books, although he does read, but not as much as me. I asked him the question of, what advice would you give to someone who wants to be an entrepreneur but doesn't know where to start, other than what book title? So he actually came up with the same answer as I kind of did in Ben's Business Book Club, and that was more on the lines of, why do you want to be an entrepreneur, and what is it you're passionate about? What's your hobbies that you're already into? And that's it, like a question back to that question to me is, figure that out first. So know yourself first before you move forward with starting a business. That's what I would recommend. Understand what direction you're wanting to go in. So here's a couple of questions for you to kind of dig deep into for yourself. So what is it that you actually why you want to be an entrepreneur? What is it you're looking to do? What is your strengths and what is your passions and hobbies? So get them on a sheet of paper and just write a bunch of ideas down of things that you're actually already spending your free time doing. And these are your passions and hobbies. And you just create a passion and hobby list. This is something that I actually put into a video that I've done for the Amazon Gold Rush, with a lot of people getting into this. So AmazonGoldRush.com is an online course that I'm selling, which is a course for people who want to get involved in the private label FBA, Amazon FBA, fulfillment by Amazon sort of industry, this new opportunity that's kind of kicking off. A lot of people are making £1 million by buying products from China, getting them shipped over. So one of the main lessons at the beginning of that course was to make sure you know like what is you're passionate about and what your hobbies are. Find something, a product, not just any product that you know a wee bit about, but one that you actually use in day to day. It just helps. So it's the same idea. You don't need to know everything about it, because as I'll go into later, being too involved in knowing all the technicalities of something can actually hinder you as well. So the next question I would probably say is, what do you want to achieve as well from that question? What is it you're actually wanting to achieve? So write some goals down, long-term goals, like a 10-year goal, 5-year goal, and some targets, and think about all those things first. But also answered that question with a couple of tools that will help you discover these questions as well, that will help bring out some ideas for you. One of them was actually the 16 personalities test. And any sort of test for your personalities and strengths. 16 personalities, just Google it. It has all the 16 different personalities. And what you'll be able to figure out from that is kind of who you are, how you react to certain situations, and it gives you a lot of insights on things that, like, areas that you can go into in business and careers. So that's another route I would recommend, is do some online personality tests. Also, there's this book here, which is Strengths Finder. I've never read it myself. It's Strength Finder 2.0 by Tom Rath. I think there's a new book out maybe within the last couple of years, which is it talks about Gallup Research Group as well. And there's at the back of this book, Strengths Finder 2.0, it actually has a code if you buy it brand new. Don't try and use this code here, but you'll get a code and you'll get this Strengths Finder test for free. So I've not even read the book. I just went straight on, took action on the Strengths Finder Gallup Research Group test, which was recommended to me. And what I'd recommend is you buy this book, which is maybe about £10, $15, whereas the online course, if you've not got the online test, is about $25. So you actually save money buying the book. Even if you don't read it, you'll get this wee coupon at the back, which you'll get a scratch code, and you'll be able to use that. So I'd recommend the Strengths Finder test for digging deeper into your strengths. So you'll do a questionnaire again, and it'll be a discovery moment, and you'll find out what your top 5 strengths are. You can pay for finding out what all your strengths are, and strengths and weaknesses. And it tells you like this, the number one strength that you're really good at. Like for me, it called me an activator, and that activator role is kind of someone who comes up or thinks of something, and I really want to go and act on it right away when I hear something. So when I'm reading a book, I find it hard to just read through a whole book without doing something off the back of it. And just find that out by taking a couple of these tests for yourself. Another book that I've not got a physical copy of it, I listened to it on Audible in an audiobook, and that was a great book for discovering things as well. And I've done all this like sort of self-discovery of knowing myself a wee bit better and my strengths later down the line after starting my business. So I lost my job. I'd already been planning to leave my job eventually and start my own business, because I was doing all this search engine optimization for my dad's businesses. I think it was Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday night. I spent about 3 hours every evening after my full-time job doing all that, and I was really passionate about that. So it was something I was always going to do. But then I came to the point I was still staying at my parents' home, and I was basically forced to go and get a job or start my business right there and then. So I was really excited at that moment, and I went and started my own business. Then later, maybe 2 years ago, I started, well, it was probably about 4 years ago that I started reading. And that was what helped me with all this self-discovery and knowing myself a wee bit better, understand what I should be doing, what I maybe shouldn't be doing, and what direction I should take the business. But one of the best things, I can't fault it, one of the best things I ever done was jump right into business with being very ignorant. I'd not read one business book. My mentor actually told me, I was running a digital marketing agency, and he told me go and buy a book on marketing, and that was a big eye-opener to me. And then I went crazy with all this personal development, reading business books. Although I did have some knowledge of marketing and web design that from experience and sort of watching online courses. But these books that I'm going to be talking about are really helpful for your self-discovery, especially Mastery by Robert Greene. That's the book, Mastery by Robert Greene. And it goes into telling stories of all the sort of people who mastered what they do. So Benjamin Franklin, Leonardo da Vinci, who became one of the greatest painters that ever lived. And that was because he went all in on his strengths and what he was passionate about. And it just advises you and opens up your eyes to sort of areas of what you should and shouldn't be doing. So that's Mastery by Robert Greene. The next book was Emotional Intelligence by Daniel Goleman. And that's a great book for learning about your emotions. And it talks about, on the subheadline is why emotional intelligence can matter just as much as your IQ or a bit or more. And it talks about like how like the old concept of your success and your ability is determined on how good your IQ is. So if you've done bad at school, you're basically going to be a failure. But whereas this book kind of challenges that idea of that if you have good emotional intelligence, which is your empathy for people, like being able to put yourself in their shoes, understand from their side. If you have that, you can develop these skills as well. That's what we talked about, how you can develop your EQ. It's also called your emotional intelligence. And it's a great book for that as well. Understanding your emotions is really what I learned from it. Then once you've kind of answered these questions, read a few of these self-discovery books and done these online personality tests, that's maybe where you want to now direct your career path. Because like I said, the best thing I ever done was jump right into business. But one of the second best things I ever done was doing knowing myself a wee bit better. And that's really important. I think it was Aristotle, or it's been repeated from different people, who said, above all else, know thyself. And that was like the number one thing you should do before you go into like putting action into things, because you could be going down the wrong path. And once you go down so far down a path, it's hard to reverse and go like start again. So try and get it right from the start. And I read an autobiography by Warren Buffett. I think it's a Snowball, the book's called, and he basically followed his path based on his strengths from the beginning, and you see where he is now. So he's in the top one of the top billionaires, one of the richest men in the world, and that's because he doubled down on his strengths from a very young age. And I think that's just very important to get that right from the start, rather than like I could have saved myself a few years, and I'm hopefully saving from my experience of 7 years doing business and learning these things later down the line. I'm hopefully going to save you some years of the same idea and going down the wrong paths. So hopefully you can pick up on some of these things and apply them to your life, and before you jump into the business, or if you're already in business, these are some things to direct you into or give you some ideas into a new path. The next thing is actually answering the question, because that was kind of a counter question to the person who asked that, Andy. The answer for the second part is sort of entrepreneurial mindset books I would recommend if you're not sure where to start, if you want to start a business. What I would recommend is How to Make Millions with Your Ideas by Dan Kennedy, which I think it was one of the quotes on the back of the book actually says it's like a 4-year course in entrepreneurship, which is spot on. The guy nailed it with that summary of what the book's about. From what I remember when I read it, must have been 3 years ago at least now, I was in Vancouver. And that's what it does, is it just gives you all the opportunities that are in your day-to-day life. And Dan Kennedy does a great job of opening your eyes up to the opportunities that are all around you, and it made me see differently. So everywhere I went now, I could see these opportunities, and it's almost like he gives you in chapters of the opportunity 1, opportunity 2, and he goes through all these opportunities of ways to start businesses and how you can start businesses with something really small, and get it moving. So the title of the book explains all, how to make millions with your ideas. So from small ideas, how to just make a business out of it, and hopefully millions if you can. So that's a great book. This is it here. So that's by Dan S. Kennedy. He's known just as Dan Kennedy now. That's one of his first books. And the next book was The E-Myth, which is by Michael Gerber, and the subtitle of that book is Why Most Businesses Fail and What to Do About It. The summary of this book roughly is, an entrepreneur, as Michael Gerber says in the book, is someone who's a visionary, someone who innovates and creates systems. Whereas, so the myth that he talks about as well is that if you start a business, you're automatically an entrepreneur, which he's basically saying is not true. Anyone who starts a business is a business owner. It's like what it said in Rich Dad, Poor Dad about the different types of people who run businesses. There's self-employed people, and then there's the business owner who's thinking like a business, like the what he talks about in here, the entrepreneur. And the opposite of an entrepreneur, the other side of a person who runs a business, is the technician. So someone who's maybe really good at, let's say, joinery, and they decide to start a business because they're good at joinery. And he uses an example in here, I think it's Mary the baker, which I've talked about before. She started a bakery company because she was good at bakery and she enjoyed bakery. So going back to what I was talking about, this actually opens your eyes up to your strengths and like your thinking as well. So this is another good self-discovery book as well before getting into business or being in business, and just kind of making you realize that you've maybe been doing things wrong or thinking wrong. So it's a good entrepreneurial mindset book as well. That's E-Myth by Michael Gerber. So I hope you found that helpful. That was a good few book reviews I've done there, mini book reviews. So that's know yourself, some tools to help you know yourself a wee bit better and know what direction to take, and some entrepreneurial mindset books to expand your mind and see the opportunities in your day-to-day life. And those two books really help with that. Last thing is, I just want to check if anyone has questions, and I'm just going to check this tablet here and see if there's any questions come through live. If not, just send them in the comment section just now if you've got any questions. I can see Achilles is online. I can't see who else is online. Nothing's coming up here. I can see that we've got a few live viewers though. So if you've got any questions, just leave them in the comment below and I'll try and answer them live just now, or I can answer them in next week's Ben's Business Q&A. Okay, we've got one more viewer that's come online just now. I'm just waiting on some live questions. While I wait, just wanted to let you know that I started what I'm doing here on podcast as well. So it's on SoundCloud. It's also I got on iTunes after banging my head off the desk a few times, trying to get my MP3. I actually had an M4A file or something. I had to convert it to an MP3, get it onto iTunes and Stitcher, and also create up a Libsyn account as well, which is all new stuff to me, and I was learning just to get this going, the Facebook Lives. I've also got Instagram Live going as well now, so try to just expand this and get more eyeballs on the live show, as well as get it distributed onto all the other channels available in audio as well. So if you're commuting or anything, you don't have time to come on Facebook Live every Monday at 3 p.m. In London time, then the best way would probably be to, like me, I find it very hard to get sat down and listen to people live, or even watch videos. I save a lot of bookmarks and I never get round to them. So my best way of consuming content is usually on the go these days, because I'm always traveling, always doing things and on the move. So I use a lot of audiobooks. I listen to a lot of audiobooks, and I commute through to Fife every week, which is an hour drive. And if I'm cleaning the house, when that ever is, I'll listen to my headphones, or when I'm walking the dog, I'll listen to my headphones. So that's a good way to consume this podcast as well, through iTunes if you subscribe to that. So I'm just going to check if there's any questions before I switch offline. Okay, I don't see any live questions coming in just now, but last thing I wanted to say was a shout out to Craig Alexander Herd, who's part of my book club, Ben's Business Book Club. He's actually started a new podcast himself around the exact same time as I started this Ben's Business podcast. It's called Habit Hackers Rebel Radio. So if you go on there in iTunes or Stitcher or Libsyn, you'll find Rebel Radio there. And I'll also be doing an interview with Craig for the following week. And also I'll be on his show, his podcast this week as well. So we're going to be doing an interview in here. So he's going to be interviewing me and I'm going to be interviewing him all on the same day. And he's actually from North Berwick, where I'm staying just now as well. So check that out. Last shout out was actually for Norbert, who gave me a copy of his book, Poor Charles Almanac, which is by Charlie Munger, who I've not read the book yet, but it looks like a very interesting book. It was one of the top books on Ty Lopez's reading list, the guy who has the Lamborghini in his garage. And highly recommends this book. It's about £100 for the second hand because it's out of print now. So I actually asked Norbert if he could post it over from Romania, which he'd done. Such a legend. He sent a wee personal letter, and he's also been doing some 3D printing of these bookmark tabs as well. So check them out. That's Norbert. I think his second name is Veselak, Veselak, and he's from Romania. He's part of the Ben's Business Book Club, a fellow book lover. So thanks for coming online today. I'll speak to you soon.